Since the Stone Ages, everyone has wanted to become a YouTuber, right? Despite this, a lot of people are still looking from the sidelines, while the courageous ones are actually doing something. You know, it's understandable, because they have no idea what to expect. What if they spend like tons of hours on it, but they never get anything in return? If only there was a realistic example of what it could entail, rather than listening to the crazy stuff your brain comes up with to avoid you from doing something new. I'm not just gonna tell how many views I got and how much I earned, but I also wanna talk about the lessons I learned and the things I wish I could tell me from 2 years ago. I'm gonna split this video into 3 parts. First one is what I gained, like status, money. Second part is what I learned about making YouTube videos and what I learned about myself. But first, a very brief look on what my channel is about and the overall timeline. At the beginning, I already had plenty of knowledge about video editing and other technical things. I think my main weaknesses were my script writing and especially my speech. My voice was, and probably still is, pretty monotone when I speak English because I try so hard to say everything right. I was also very insecure about it, which just made me sort of shy sounding. I don't like to go back and listen to those. It's 2008. Up to this point, I owned a Lego. The channel started off with Lego game reviews. I did that for like a year, and then I realized that I gotta grow up. Just kidding. I actually realized that I can't make these types of videos because they limit too much, like what kind of videos I wanna make. So I wanted to start again, but I wasn't sure what to make videos on. So I looked towards what I was most interested in, which was making YouTube videos. So the only logical step is to make YouTube videos about making YouTube videos then. And that's what I did for a few months. But after a while I just realized that it's pretty silly for me to give YouTube advice when I'm such a novice at it myself. And give that advice like I'm actually onto something. Even though I think that happens plenty of in self-improvement tips and tricks space. There's just plenty of conmans that just have a fancy setup and they don't know anything. So yeah, I didn't know where to go next. I just made videos about whatever came to my mind and just thought that I'm gonna figure this out later on. That whole story sounded kinda sad, and you might be surprised to realize that I made almost 1 million views. Basically, during my Lego game phase, I actually uploaded these no context videos of Lego games. Out of all the videos I ever made, those took least amount of effort and they got the most amount of views. There are a lot of things I would have done differently in these 2 years, but I'm still very happy that I tried, and it's not like I didn't get anywhere. I did 155 euros to be exact, so I earned roughly $1 every 1,000 views. What about the sponsors? Despite getting decent views, not a single sponsorship offer has been sent to me. Not even the gambling sites. Okay, the real reason is that no one really knows I exist. And I guess also my brand matters. And right now I don't have a brand. And my most popular videos are the ones where I don't have a massive role. Sure, I made those videos, but I don't talk in those. But even if I did get offers, I would be pretty careful on who I accept. Because I don't want to advertise some other dropshipping garbage. Of course, it's easier said than done. As for status, no one seems to know about my channel. Okay. I don't know that, but if I were to find someone's channel I knew, I would definitely bring that up because that would be such a nice conversation fuel. Because they're either very interested in making YouTube videos or the thing they're making YouTube videos about. But yeah, I haven't thought about my channel and I gotta admit, I'm pretty afraid of getting bullied for it. Even though I've gotten better at accepting myself, including this YouTube thing. But yeah, as for my confidence, existence of this channel has changed nothing about how I feel about myself in the real world. Or if it does, it's maybe like a 5% difference. That's pretty much the only things I've gained doing this in terms of money and fame. I mean, it's better than doing nothing, but if I had to sacrifice one of the 3 things, I would pick this one for sure. Now the most important bits. Things I learned, aka mistakes I never wanna make again. The most important part with my channel is sticking to one thing only. Now I know commitment can be very scary, and I often find myself wondering why can't I just make videos about everything. But like, nah, you just make it a lot harder for yourself than it already is. Not only is it gonna be harder to find your audience, but also deciding what to make a video on next. I feel like for me, I struggle with this more than others. My theory is that a lot of people are first passionate about something else, and then they want to start making YouTube videos about it. Whereas I'm first interested in YouTube videos and then try to figure out what to make videos on. I just find it really hard to lock in my genre and especially the niche. And even when I have locked it in and worked with that niche for some time, as time goes on, I start getting doubts whether this is the right niche or whether it's already oversaturated. I hate that word. No bro, don't breathe. The air market is oversaturated. It's 2024. Everyone is breathing nowadays. I genuinely think that I got what it takes. I just got to be more patient and just have more faith and focus. The other advice I would like to give my 2022 self would be not to think about it too much. Despite getting dozens of videos out, I procrastinated a lot when I would make them. The culprit I fell into was thinking that each video was somehow gonna be utterly earth-shattering and change my life forever. In reality, the result was 100 views and 6 likes in the first week. That's it. That was some crazy pressure I just put on myself for no reason. It's a fact that the more you put importance on something, the more there is resistance to do that thing. The resistance is your brain trying to protect you from ruining your life by doing something new. It sounds pretty counterintuitive, but that's how our mind seems to work. When you make videos, do your thing and don't get caught up in every possible outcome. That way you make it 1,000 times easier for you.
Okay, there's one more thing I want to point out, which is over-professionalism. And I don't mean professional as in 4K quality and perfect lighting. I mean talking like you're in a job interview. For example, when I started, I used to care so much about using the right words and write this and write that. A lot of people are insecure when they start uploading videos, because they're scared that they're gonna look like a fool. This is why they act very professionally, because then they can kinda play it safe. They talk in a very monotone way, they use complicated jargon language, and they don't never goof around. It feels like they're constantly walking on eggshells or something. The truth is that a lot of people watch YouTube to feel like they're socializing with someone, and no one wants to feel like they're socializing with a robot. I also have a fun fact to share, which is that humans like humans. So if you want people to like you, be more human. I just recently watched movie bloopers from 40s, and it felt so weird to see them acting in such a human way after they, commit the blooper.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, I've seen them around.
Seen him around where? Jesus.
You know how they talk in such a certain way in those movies? For some reason I thought that was actually how they talked back then. Because how was I supposed to know? It just makes you relate a lot more to that generation than the actual final products. It really makes me wish that they made those older movies more realistic and not so produced.
I'll lock my brains out.
Despite a lot of YouTube gurus emphasizing on focusing on your intended audience, for me, as someone who is hyper aware of opinions someone might draw about me, I wanna keep things simple. I actually realized during editing parts of this video that it's just better to make these videos like you would make them if you never put them out. I actually keep telling myself that this video is for me in the future. My goal is to watch this video in the future and get like a good grasp on how I was as a human. That way you let your personality shine a bit more than whatever the option B is. The final part. What did I learn about me? First of all, I got better at finishing projects. Making even just a 6-minute video essay doesn't just pop out during one boring evening at home. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm roaming through the Antarctica butt naked to get these videos done. Like, it's not that much work, but when you couple it with the fact that you have doubt, fear, and whatever else on your windshield, it gets really slow to get anything done, which is frustrating, because technically it's easy, but when you sit down to do it, suddenly the mental weight of your mom starts pulling my finger towards the new tab to watch YouTube videos others have made. Unbelievable. Until you realize you spent 30 minutes watching garbage, so try to get something done again, and just keep yo-yoing, which is very exhausting to your brain. There's a theory on how brains actually get exhausted from constantly shifting focus from one thing to another, which is why it's the most meta to do one thing at a time, rather than pomodoring or something. Yeah, I also got better at putting myself out there, at least in the context of having a no-face YouTube channel. I was beyond frightened when I uploaded the first self-narrated video. I kept switching it from public to unlisted all the time. Looking back, it's crazy how much I cared, but I got used to it, which means that I've grown immune to that fear. That's pretty cool. I actually used that fear that I beat as like a benchmark on like how well I can win a fear. So next time I'm like, I really suck at this because I get too nervous. I just think back on this and I'm like, you know what I mean. Knowing that there are videos out there on the web where I talk about some of my interests really made me have to come to terms with the fact that any day I could be confronted about it made me slowly accept myself a bit more. My mind could either be super worried about that possibility for the rest of my life or just adapt. And adapt it did. Now I don't feel as ashamed by the fact that I do YouTube videos. Or about my YouTube videos. Hate comments. That's probably one thing on your mind when you're starting YouTube. How many have I gotten? None. None. It's crazy. Sure, there are a couple of negative comments that go against my opinion. That's normal. Don't be scared about that, come on man. But yeah, the negative comments haven't bothered me too much. I almost feel flattered when people take my differing opinions seriously enough to put out a comment. I feel kinda insignificant sometimes. So someone taking me seriously gives me reassurance that I actually kinda matter. I'm serious. Thank you all the negative comments. That being said, the YouTube comments are usually really nice on the newer channels. I see this all the time when I watch videos from small creators. Even though the video is has super annoying editing and kinda weak script, there are still 100% positive comments. And they're not bots, they're just people that wanna see you do better. If you're shocked that those kind of people exist, just they're just roaming the internet, me too. I've come to terms with that. Once you get big, then it's game over, everyone hates you. Not that I have any experience of it, but you can see it all the time. The final thing I learned was that you don't have to be some kind of higher level of being to make YouTube videos. You often think that YouTubers must have some kind of X factor, some kind of secret sauce. They have some kind of mutation in their DNA that makes them super special. They almost become authority figures to you just because they're on your screen and they have a big following. But the fact is that they're just like rest of us roaming this earth. They just happen to know a bit more about this YouTube thing and how to present ideas well and so on. In fact, no one deserves to be put on a pedestal. As a kid, I thought highly educated people were some kind of galaxy brain overlords that you couldn't even talk to without getting destroyed with facts and logic. But after hearing everyday convos from doctors, I can say with great relief that they're just as normal as butter on bread. That being said, I still fall into this trap. The funniest example being with my own videos. This happens pretty much with every video I make. I write something, I record it, I put it into DaVinci Resolve. I listen to my recording and think to myself, this is trash. I'm too far gone to this project, I don't want to start another one. So I'm just gonna finish it. When the time comes to put on some visuals, as well as some music, and maybe some subtitles, I play it back, and I suddenly find my narration a lot nicer, and the points I make a lot more logical. I'm able to manipulate myself with fancy editing. Those are just a couple of things I learned throughout my somewhat brief YouTube journey. My past self would drool if he got to hear my statistics. But unfortunately, human mind gets used to everything, including the good things. So the only option is to get more views.